So the Cincinnati Bengals have clearly made a conscious effort to try and improve their receiving core, make sure Joe Burrow has guys to throw to. They drafted, obviously, Jamar Chase just this last draft, but they also had T. Higgins, which they drafted with the first pick of the second round last year, who actually had I think, a really surprisingly good season. I think kind of an underratedly good season. He ended up with the third most receiving yards among rookies with 908. That was just below. It was just below CeeDee Lamb, who had 935, and then obviously Jefferson went off with 1,400. He also had the third most touchdowns at 6 among rookies. So a lot of good stuff from T. Higgins, and let's talk about what he's able to do so well. So like right off the bat, something like this. I think if you're going to play for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, you're going to have to make a contested catch here and there. Joe Burrow is going to give you the opportunities. He puts faith in his receivers, and he expects them to be able to make plays, and Higgins was absolutely able to do that last year. This is another reason why Burrow and Jamar Chase work so well together, is because Chase is so good at this stuff, but Higgins can make a tough catch here and there too. So it's going to be zone coverage. It's a cover 3 zone. You see the route he's running could get into a gap in coverage. However, right when this play starts, you notice that Indianapolis playing it well. I mean, in the yellow circle, you see that the corner has done a great job at reading this play. He is covering him up, so there's not a ton of separation. On top of this, there is a safety who's over there where that's where the route is going, so this is kind of a tough play, but there is sort of that inside leverage, and like I said, Burrow's going to give Higgins a chance. He's going to throw it up to Higgins, who kind of has the leverage, who's in front, even though there's not much separation, and he's going to trust that Higgins can make this play. And as you see, Higgins is going to do a good job of making the play. So some people might say, oh, that's kind of risky, throwing to receivers with no separation, but I don't really think it is when you trust your receivers. And Higgins has shown that he is someone who you can trust, even though he's only played 1 year in the NFL. A lot of what Higgins does really well is stuff like this. It's just his cuts, and they don't even seem like that overly impressive, but he just does it well enough to get open. He's just one of those guys who's always seemingly getting open, and he's always doing what he can to get himself open every play. And what I mean by that is, on this play, you see it's a cover 2 zone, and the way the concept works, tight end runs deep. Then you just have Higgins kind of run into that second zone area where hopefully he can get open, since the Pittsburgh player in charge of covering that zone will be a little bit further deep, covering a tight end. Higgins, of course, the one in the white circle right here. So watch how this play is going to work out. As you see, Higgins does a great job of sort of like stopping and then starting again and being able to find a way to get open, run that route well, because again, the Pittsburgh defender in the flat could have ran over the middle and covered, which he eventually tried to do. Higgins just did a good job of not showing his hand. It's kind of that stem portion of the route, and people always love to say that route running really underrated with wide receivers. Well, Higgins is kind of proof of that. He was a second round pick, barely, but he was, and he kind of can show that, like, okay, no, there's a lot he can do really well. Okay, let's talk some go routes now for a second, because, T. Higgins, he ran a 4.54, so not the slowest 40 time you'll ever see, but nothing, like, great either. I mean, that's something that maybe would be a little bit concerning for a high draft pick like Higgins was, of, a bit on the slower side for, like, these, like, top-end guys. But when it comes to wide receivers, I mean, would I like him to be faster? Sure, I'd like every wide receiver to be faster in a vacuum, but you can still find ways to get open. And it's not like a cornerback where if you have a bad 40 time, guys can just blow by you. If you're a receiver, you can find ways to make a bad 40 time still work, and this is a great example. So it is a go route, and you think, okay, you maybe don't have to worry too much about getting burned deep with Higgins, but he actually did have a good amount of deep catches last year. A couple were just like, he actually had multiple plays that went for over 50 yards that were just like miscommunications in zone, but he also had some plays like this. So like, watch, right when this play starts, again, notice how he just kind of fakes over as though he's running over the middle a little bit to get that Pittsburgh player moving in. And this goes back to that route running. You can kind of fool guys using your footwork, using your route running, doing stuff like this. And Higgins is a great example of showing, maybe if you don't have all of the natural talent, and he does have a lot of natural talent, but, there are guys who are faster than him, but they don't run routes as well, and they don't fool guys as well, which is why they don't get as many yards. Because then when Higgins runs deep, at this point, he's fast enough that he's able to get open. That one was a missed throw, but, he got open. I mean, and that's what his job is to do, is to get open and hopefully make a catch if it's a catchable ball. Like, this one's going to be another example, and in fairness, on this play, he is going up against Vernon Hargraves, another slower corner, so, it's a little bit of slower speed on slower speed. And again, 5.45. I'm not saying he runs a 4.8, right? Like, it's not the end of the world. But anyways, again, similar situation. Houston kind of in a weird formation where they do have a safety deep, but he's not very far deep. He's only going to end up being about like 10, 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. So this is a true one-on-one matchup. And Higgins could say, well, I am going up against a slower corner. Maybe I'll just run by him. But he's smart enough to know that he should use more tools in his tool belt. Watch him start off, and he's going to make a quick move that gets Hargreaves a little bit more out of position, gets him more open, and this time the throw is very accurate. Higgins makes a great catch, and they're able to pick up a big gain like that. So, again, that's kind of what he can do, is he uses his footwork to get open deep. So even if he doesn't necessarily have the blazing speed to run by you, he doesn't need it. He'll get by you in other ways, which is really good. And then it impacts on plays like this. So, one of the things that you could argue about with a slower receiver is if you don't have to fear getting burned deep, well, then you can just sort of focus on this, more underneath stuff and more middling stuff. But since Higgins can beat you deep, you still have to fear that. So on this play, it's zone coverage, and you see the route he's running. Right when this play starts, you're going to notice that there is a Houston corner who sort of, look at how far back he is. He's still bailing right here. He is afraid of getting burned deep by Higgins, even though, again, there's guys who can run a 40 time in 0.2 of a second quicker than him, but it doesn't matter because he can still burn you deep, so that way he can still burn you with other stuff as well. It just sets up the whole route tree for him. And as you see, again, accurate throw, he's able to go over and make the grab. So that's how he's able to get open. And, a lot of what he can do is he can really just destroy like lesser corners. So that's a great thing about him is when he goes up against, when he's in a favorable matchup, he wins those like a ton of times, which I like. You want that in a receiver to not just win his fair share when he's in a favorable matchup, but to like dominate. He can do that. And when you pair him with Ja'Marr Chase, which if he becomes what we all think he can become, this could be like an awesome 1-2 combo, and Higgins could really feast on those number 2 corners, whereas you have Chase who can do a lot of awesome stuff on the other side. So again, Higgins is already playing really smart. He's just a rookie. I'm not sure how much more he's going to improve just because, he pretty much does all the technique stuff really well already. So, it's hard to really see how much better he'll improve. He'll probably improve a little bit, just getting more reps, knowing exactly when to do every single move and stuff like that. But to me, Higgins is clearly, he's a 1,000 yards guy. He is. That's what I see him as. I think I'm not sure if he's a 1,400 yard guy, but that's fine. 1,000 yard guy for a second round pick. That's a pretty awesome second round pick. Not to mention you have Tyler Boyd, who has had back-to-back 1,000 yard seasons and had 840 last year. So you got Boyd, you got Higgins, you now have Ja'Marr Chase, who could be the ace of that wide receiving core. And I talk about a bunch about how wide receivers, that's how you win in today's NFL. You got to win throwing the ball, so you need a good quarterback, you need good wide receivers, and it's a lot. It could be a lot of fun to watch next year. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.